Hi everyone, my name is Johnny Martinez and I am the Partnerships Manager here at CrowdComms, and I am delighted to be joined by two industry personalities and the co-founders of Event Agency Broadvent, Dan and Layla. How are you?
Hi, yeah, good, thank you.
Very well, thank you. Just recovering from the seasonal period. So.
Aaron, we are trying to get into the swing of things. Beginning of the year, I know what it's like. I would love to hear you guys talk about, what you guys do, the agency you run, and, some of the events that you had in 2020.
So myself and Daniel are both co-founders of Broadvent. Broadvent was born in November 2023, after us having worked together for about almost 2 years, I think. So Daniel was part of my team at a previous organisation. So for us, Broadvent is still kind of developing and growing. We are an end-to-end event management agency, mostly sort of in the large conference and event space. So I come from very much an ops management background with some large scale tech events. And then during lockdown, one of my clients asked me if I could come and, how shall I say, help out with their events program. And within sort of 3 or 4 months, I had 6 team members, and Daniel was one of those. And we took it from 0 revenue to 2.2 million in the first year. So it was quite an induction, a baptism of fire into that virtual event space, which I didn't really know anything about before. So I think it kind of nicely leads us on to where we are now. And we're sort of defining what we think that hybrid agency looks like. And I think it's kind of that all-encompassing way that we are able to work with our clients to speak to their customers and their audience via various mediums, be that podcasts, virtual events like the one we did with yourselves, and also sort of in-person events and brand activations throughout the year. There's a lot that we've brought together, and then our joint experience with virtual to be able to offer kind of a full suite of services to our customers.
Sounds amazing. Sounds like you two have known each other for a while.
Well, actually, Daniel is married to my best friend, so he has to be nice to me at all times.
Yeah, there is that link. I mean, to be fair, Layla had always said to me, us both being from the event background, had always said, when I have the chance to get you in, I'll get you a job. And sure enough, true to her word, she did. Yeah, I started in consumer exhibitions in the UK, like Ideal Home Show, Grand Science Live, some really big exhibitions. So I worked on them, and then I kind of went from the organizer side to the contractor side. So I had a lot of experience within the conferences and expo space, all in person up until COVID. And that's when, Layla brought me on board to help deliver this virtual event program at DevOps Institute, which was something I'd never done before. I was familiar with like video production and video editing, which came in quite useful. And sure enough, like it all kind of snowballed, and we had this big team. And I think that's where for us both, we kind of built that virtual event experience. And then coming off the back of that and out of COVID, it's kind of working out what the event landscape looks like. And I think there was this expectancy maybe for it to all be in person. And I know like internally in our last company, there were quite a few debates about it's going to be in person, no, it's still going to be virtual, it's going to be a mix. And I think our past year, especially at Broadvent, has been kind of redefining what a hybrid event looks like, and how we can deliver both in person and virtual, and kind of expanding that consumer experience, I guess, from just the event itself to like the pre and the post, and how that looks for our sponsors and other kind of stakeholders as well. So yeah, it's been good fun so far. We've had a great year.
That sounds great, and it sounds like it's been quite a learning curve, for many of us. But certainly, as you say, a lot of us had to learn or relearn, how to do things during the pandemic, and and you mentioned it there, Dan, a lot of people question it whether hybrid events, were still relevant. Are they still a thing? But, it sounds like, you guys, this hybrid virtual, you're still embracing, these formats.
Yeah. I think with anything as well, there's pros and cons to everything, and especially like our event that we delivered with CrowdComms, which I know we're going to speak about in a minute. Like for our client with that, her choice to go virtual was purely down to kind of cost and the logistics of flying everyone out to one location when it's a global network. And that's just one of the reasons, like why virtual for us has still been such a big part of what we do. So.
Yeah, and I think just in terms of that, just adding to what Daniel was saying, that event had been in Las Vegas for the previous 2 years, and I think just for the team themselves, the VSM who we worked with, they're all kind of not a voluntary organisation, but they're bringing this consortium together. And for them to all kind of take a week out of their schedule to fly over to Vegas from their various different parts of the world, I mean, costs, A, were one huge consideration, but B, it was kind of, we're all still doing our other roles within other companies as well. And actually, could we take a step back, lighten our load a little bit, and work with us to sort of build and deliver? And I think certainly from the user experience, there wasn't a lot that was lost from not being sort of in the room.
Right. I understand that. And do you think, because I wonder if the client was also considering sustainability, when they were making the decision around, it's going to be a virtual only type of event, because of course, if people are not flying, if people are not traveling there, then, you sort of reduce, a lot of the emissions there. And, you deliver a more environmentally friendly experience. Is that, do you think, was that an aspect that the client considered in the decision making?
I would say that everyone's kind of considering sustainability. It's a bit of a hot topic, isn't it, for events, more so nowadays. I think we've been talking about it in the event space for quite a few years, but nobody really knew what it meant. And I think sort of just in that kind of post-COVID landscape, everyone kind of understands a bit more about sustainability, I think, and sort of the uses, the unnecessary travel that we all perhaps did a bit before, all of the kind of the impact it has on our planet. So I think it is definitely a consideration now. I'm not saying it was one of their priorities, but I think it was definitely considered.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that like Layla and I ourselves have been to a lot of networking events last year where sustainability has been a big key focus, and especially there's companies out there, kind of tracking the carbon footprints of all companies and different clients as well. So it's definitely something that, we're conscious of, and is one of the things that we'd push about, like the virtual and hybrid experience. So.
Right.
Yeah, and I think as kind of just to add with this particular client, they, as a speaker gift to all of their speakers, I think donated like a tree to plant, kind of, one of those kind of sustainable gifts. So it definitely is a consideration of theirs. I'm not sure it was a factor in making their decision. Right.
Yeah, makes sense. That sounds good. So the event, let's talk about it. Flowtopia.
Yes.
I'd like to know how did it go? Who are the audience as well, and any particularities about that event that you would like to mention?
So they're a tech audience. The Value Stream Management Consortium were the client of ours, and Flowtopia, their kind of annual learning event that they put on for the industry. So anyone who does anything to do with value stream management, who is probably far cleverer than me because I don't really understand it too much, but I think it's about workflows and how businesses work to get to the end result better. It was really well received. I think the audience are a very global audience as well. And it also allowed a lot more people to be able to be part of the event than the kind of, I think, 60 in a room the year before. I think we had, Dan, help me on this, but I think we probably had 1,200 registrations in the end. Absolutely. And really great live attendance, actually, really great sort of conversion rate. We had people from all over the globe.
Yeah.
Right.
So we ran it for 12 hours consecutively. I think we kicked off at 8 a.m. UK or 9 a.m. UK. So we kind of hit all, we followed the sun a little bit with that one. But we had, everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there was many places without someone sort of saying, hi, I'm from Guadeloupe.
That's amazing. That would have been a long day for you guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was.
How did you manage that?
I think with events, it's just a number, isn't it? It's not really, you don't ever count the number of hours you're working. You're just like, right, I've got to be there then, and it finishes then. Okay, I know those two numbers, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, however long it is, you just stay there and you deliver the experience, right?
Exactly.
That's the event organizer commitment.
Exactly.
And you talked a little bit about the adoption rate for the event, and you said that you had more than 1,200 registrations. Did you find that a lot of those that registered, they use the platform effectively? How did they find it?
Yeah, I mean, I know for our client, that was one of the big concerns when it came to choosing a virtual event platform, which ultimately fell down to myself and Layla because we were the ones with the experience. And I know when we've used previous platforms, there's been issues with people logging in or it just not being that user-friendly in terms of the usability of the platform altogether. So I think that's always going to be one of our focuses when we're kind of looking at what platforms to use. But the feedback that we got with CrowdComms was just brilliant. To be fair, I don't think we got any messages of people saying they were struggling to work out how to join the event, how to log in, didn't know where to go, or had tech issues. So I think there was a moment of Layla and I holding our breath when it was kicking off, and we're like, just waiting for these messages to come in, but it was so smooth. And I think with that, what had really helped from our side was the 24/7 support that your team offer. So when it came to kind of sorting out the landing pages and login and putting in the notifications for people to know where to go and where to head, it was just so easy to kind of have that support, as this was our first time using the platform, to have that support alongside as and when we needed, so that when it came to event day, we knew exactly what comms to send out, we knew exactly where to direct people. And I think it kind of paid dividends when everyone just started logging on and we didn't have any reports of any issues. So it's really good.
Well, it's really good to hear. Definitely. I will definitely pass on the feedback to Charlie, Chris and James, because I believe those are the individuals you work with for this event. Were there any features, any functionalities in particular that you thought, this was actually quite useful, for the attendees, this worked really well, or it was mentioned that people found this particularly useful?
Yeah, I think the community chat functions were really helpful that sat alongside the talks. One of the things that I certainly know is important to our client is that sense of community at the events. So I think there was a constant flow of chat happening all day. So that was definitely a standout feature for me. And I also love that you could pop out the speaker. So as if you were planning to attend for a long period of time, but you still got to keep an eye on your emails and whatever, you can pop out the video and it won't sort of close if you move away from the screen, which we've had that experience of before. And then you kind of have to go back and then you're a bit lost and you lose all the chat. So that was definitely a great function that stood out for me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in terms, again, from our client's point of view, the kind of interaction and that sense of community, like Layla said, was really important, and they were really not wanting it just to feel like a kind of standard webinar where people log on, watch a talk and then leave. They wanted that interactivity. So I think we'd kind of used the activity feed feature so that people could kind of post where they were joining from, share photos of their setup for the day. And the leaderboard challenges were just so great. I mean, from an organizer's perspective, the way they were so easy to set up and kind of build ourselves was just really, really useful. And it kind of gave us a lot of flexibility with our client to kind of say, right, these are the functions that we can award people points for. How many points do you want to give? And the fact that we could go in the back end and check people were getting the right points, or kind of boost points or subtract them if we needed to. It was just really good. And again, in comparison to other platforms we've used before, that's something that's heavily relied on sending information over to a tech team to do. And so we've had kind of limited control on what's happening. Whereas I think with CrowdComms, again, it was so user friendly, and having that support was something that we could learn to do ourselves really quickly. And then on event day, it was just really good to kind of see that interactivity of people getting really involved and or getting competitive as they do to kind of win the prizes. But it was just a really nice feature that I think really kind of enhanced that level of community and engagement throughout the event.
Right, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. It's good to hear. I guess sometimes people underestimate, some organizers underestimate the value, the power that gamification, some of these interactive features can have, in the event. Often I think we focus a lot on, content, delivering content, and, making sure the speakers are happy, and making sure the program is running on time. But then you tend to, forget about, what happens when people are not necessarily watching the session. So it's really good to hear that, your attendees and yourselves were able to utilize that effectively. Are there any features, I'm wondering, that you like that perhaps you didn't use or that you didn't see available that you would like to see, implemented on the platform going forward?
I mean, I'll jump in. I know.
You go for it.
One of the feedbacks that we thought could be really useful kind of moving forward is where we had the activity feed, which was really good. And then we had the different chats for all of the sessions themselves. Would be maybe if there was a kind of chat that was available to kind of pop up throughout the whole event. So wherever you navigate, you've got the chat there. Just because, again, from previous experience, we've kind of felt that sometimes that can really help just keep the flow of conversation going throughout the day, rather than people kind of joining different chats in different places. And I know that's something we spoke to Charlie about when we had our debrief call.
Nice. Lastly, I want to ask you, looking at the new year, do you see any trends, any opportunities, any particular challenges in our industry, anything that you can identify and share, with us today?
I think for 2024 was a funny year. Everyone was kind of getting back to that in person. I think sort of 23, everyone was like, no, we need to go back in person, but it didn't really happen. 24, people started to do that, but I don't know if you saw it, but towards the end of 24, there was a bit of fatigue of that as well. And people were going, actually, those virtual events were quite nice when I didn't have to leave the house and I could have my jacket potato at lunchtime and sit in my comfy chair. So I think we did see a sort of a trend of those virtual events kind of picking up a bit more again. Whereas I think everyone had kind of gone, oh God, I can't sit behind a laptop any longer. I need to go out. And then it was kind of, I don't want to go out anymore. Not always anyway. So I think it's going to be probably, in my opinion, a bit more sort of 75-25, whereas, we had 100% one way pre-COVID, then COVID 100% the other way. So I think we'll probably see, for us, our clients seeing the value of those in-person events, and also just with rising costs of everything, venues, food costs, transport costs. I think that people are being more mindful to how they spend their money, and also with sustainability, as we'd already spoken about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think as well, given like the whole cost of living crisis that, you know, the UK's been facing, especially last year, and the kind of state of the job industry and itself, we saw a lot ourselves of, you know, talking to clients and then budgets were cut or their marketing revenue was down, and there were so many factors, I think, where they, you know, is saying, you know, we came out of COVID and everyone's raring to get back in person.
Yeah.
That all those pros that we were talking about with virtual and hybrid events were kind of overlooked because it was just focused on getting back in person. And I think,
Right.
yeah, said towards the end of the year, there's maybe been a bit more consideration of, oh, well, we've got like this little pot. What could we do virtually for that? And I think for us, particularly going into 2025, there's going to be a focus on kind of exploring the hybrid methods going forward, kind of maybe doing smaller in-person things rather than really big lavish events like pre-COVID, or not entirely virtual, but just how we can use different elements of different parts to kind of deliver still the quality and the high finish events that we want to deliver, but also kind of meeting the needs and what's important for our clients. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot kind of investigating what the pre and post events look like, and like the registration, and whether it's going to be hybrid, in person, virtual, and all those different elements, and kind of building those custom packages to kind of tick all the boxes.
I think you're right, and I think you know, listening to your clients' needs and, you know, their understanding of, you know, what their communities need as well is quite key. You guys mentioned a few things there. You know, what do those attendees find comfortable? You know, especially you know, what are the situations in their lives? And I think a lot of the things that you guys mentioned touch on, you know, inclusivity, accessibility, and, you know, creating those adjustments, you know, for people that require it. You know, whether you are too busy, or you are a parent, or, you know, you are a disabled person, you know, hybrid virtual, you know, allows you to enjoy the experience just like everyone else, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's been so much kind of a preconceived idea, it's black or white, like it's either in person, it's either virtual, like there's no medium. And I think, again, with that whole kind of raring to go back in person, then realizing actually there were benefits to virtual, has kind of made people more aware it's not so black and white. There's like that kind of grey area of hybrid, and what does that look like, and what elements do we like from the virtual and do we like from the in-person, and how can we merge that to deliver something that works for everyone. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, I really want to thank you both for your time today. It has been a great conversation, and I also want to remind everyone that our next spotlight session will be taking place on the 13th February at 11 a.m. and it will be on Keeping Pace, where we'll be demonstrating our latest updates on our event registration system. So come join us if you have time. All of the sessions are recorded and stored on our platform. So even if you can't attend at the, you know, specific time, you can still catch up with the session later on. So yeah, once again, Dan, Layla, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
And you.
Look forward to collaborating more this year as well.
Absolutely.
See you later. Bye-bye.